In the headlines, reaction to news that come the 10th of July, curfew restrictions will be over. The Prime Minister says phase 1 of the reopening of the tourism sector is a must, but there will be limited hotels operating. And the incumbent MP and SLP hopeful address an upsurge of crime in the scenic town of Soufrière. The details of these stories and more coming up.
This is the Hot 7 Nightly News with Lovelace and Amy Joseph.
Good night. It is Tuesday, the 7th of July, 2020. Welcome to the Hot 7 TV Nightly News on Flow, Channel 117, Kiss FM, the Caribbean Hot FM mobile app, and our Caribbean Hot 7 TV Facebook page. I'm Lovely St. Amy Joseph. Thank you for joining us. Prime Minister Allen Chastanet says the country must get on with the business of ensuring that people can meet their basic needs. The economy, he noted, cannot remain stagnant, and unemployment benefits by the NIC, he says, cannot continue forever. And so, phase 1 of the reopening of the tourism sector begins. Cautiously optimistic is how the Prime Minister couched his outlook on the reopening of the tourism sector. In his update on the COVID-19 response and recovery on Monday night, he stressed that while government has to get going with the revival of the economy through its main driver, tourism, every precaution will be taken with a phased approach with limited tourism activity.
I really want to take this time tonight to explain that for the first month to 6 weeks, what is being recommended is that we have a pilot phase. So what we want to do is to restrict the number of hotels that are participating. That is to ensure that the Ministry of Health staff have the ability to provide the level of oversight. 2, that if we are seeing a problem, that we're limiting the amount of exposure across the island, and that we need to have hotels which we believe that persons will come down and there would be sufficient amount of services available to them to enjoy their vacation.
Visitors to the island are required to be pre-tested, but some will be allowed to test once on island at the airport. Prime Minister Chastanet says strict guidelines have been instituted at hotels to ensure health and safety. Nonetheless, he says the government is under no delusion that there is a policy that can be adopted that would allow 100% health security.
But the reality is that once you start opening up your doors, you can do things to contain the risk, but there's nothing that we can do to totally eliminate the risk. And it's because of that that we want to have a pilot phase.
However, the Prime Minister says this next phase is a must as the government takes into consideration the plight of many St. Lucians who are on the breadline.
We have small businesses, persons who own their own taxi, bus transportation for staff, farmers, entertainers, who are all wondering when and if they're actually going to get back to work, and not knowing when the next paycheck is going to come. And if it was simply not being able to afford things, that would be one thing. But the mental anxiety, the mental pressure that is putting on a lot of people in St. Lucia. And we see it, we hear it, and we feel it. And to simply want to ignore it as being an economic issue, i.e., are we exchanging our health for economics? Economics matters for a lot of people.
The Prime Minister acknowledges that many St. Lucians had relaxed on COVID-19 protocols, such as wearing a mask, frequent hand washing, and physical distancing. He says moving into this next phase, the citizenry needs to double down and revert to strict adherence to COVID-19 protocols to ensure that community spread of the virus is kept at bay. Come Friday, the 10th of July, St. Lucia will no longer be under curfew. Prime Minister Allen Chastanet made the announcement during a television broadcast to update the nation on the COVID-19 response and recovery. Monday night's announcement that the COVID-19 curfew will be lifted on the 10th of July turned out to be a memorable and memeable moment.
Drop the curfew So as of July 10th, we no longer will have curfew hours in St. Lucia. I have to say,
From cinemas to sporting tournaments, COVID-19 protocols which affected such activities will be relaxed.
The most recent decisions that Cabinet has made, one is the reopening of cinemas with proper protocols. So the CMO and her team have assured me that they have met with the cinema operator and the proper protocols now have been approved and that is going to recommence operations. Everything that I'm going to be speaking about right now would be effective as of July 10th, 2020. The second thing is that the reopening of early childhood development centers with protocols has been approved. The third is very exciting for the sports persons of our country, the allowing of tournaments, sporting events, and contact sports with protocols for spectators attending. I believe that the number of total people attending is supposed to be around 200, is the maximum number of persons, regardless of how large the facility is. And even those 200 persons that are participating will be with social distancing. Again, we're now seeing professional football start in the Premier League start in the UK under similar conditions. The next thing really is that the opening of the yachting sector with strict protocols.
However, the government and health officials urge everyone to take the necessary precautions even as they resume normal activities that previously defined everyday life. The Prime Minister says the reality is that this is now the COVID-19 era and habits must be adapted. And now we go to public reaction about the Prime Minister's announcements relating to the curfew and the relaxing of other COVID-19 protocols.
During his address to the nation on Monday evening, Prime Minister Alan Chastanet announced a complete revocation of the curfew. We took to the streets to gauge the reaction of the public on this announcement. Here's what you had to say.
Well, it's all right with me because we probably realize we can go ahead without the curfew. But I suppose we still have to be careful as to, like, for example, we must still keep the protocol, and we must still be careful.
So I cannot understand how can they know that? So because I don't know if they know if the virus is finished already. Well, they have to take good care.
Well, as anything else, as a St. Lucian, I feel relieved, but that doesn't mean we have to drop our guard as far as the COVID is concerned, but the government is working.
I feel bad about it because that's death to everybody because everything would be coming in. That's death to the nation. No more curfew, death to the nation.
So like everything has an advantage and a disadvantage. And then right now the St. Lucian government is doing pretty well, actually controlling the number of cases and also maintaining the economy. I think it's a pretty good move to start moving because many of the cab drivers are being affected, and also like people who are like unemployed, they're also being affected because of this. So like once you start moving, so things will start getting better.
It's a good thing for the country. We have to open up the country. Things have to be moving. We have to collect the tax from the people. So it's a very good thing to open up the country.
Honest, my opinion, well, we don't have no death situation in St. Lucia with the coronavirus. And I find it is very, very serious. We still have to keep our distance. But if the Prime Minister feel that he should uplift it, I feel that's his choice, that's what he wants to do. And he's the Prime Minister of the country. Well, I agree with that. I just want to say, if Lucians take this virus very serious, what is going on in Florida, in the United States, take it very, very serious because we're not out of the woods as yet. We are not. We just need to pray and take this epidemic very, very, very serious.
Happy. I feel very happy that they don't have no more curfew.
Happy, with choice. Why? Praise God. At least we're free now. We could do what we want. And especially what I like about what's going on now, I'll be able to travel to 7 soon. And I tell people I need a rest. Thank you, but I think it was good, eh?
Well, differently, to tell the real truth, since we don't have nothing like that here, and it's people that coming in, that bringing it here, and the border was closed. So right now we know how to protect ourselves, you understand?
We engaged people walking through Constitution Park, and those were their views. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzague.
On Friday, the 3rd of July, the Office of the Parliamentary Representative for Soufrière Fort-Saint-Jacques, Herod Stanislas, organized an anti-violence peace treaty meeting between rival groups in the community at the Cool Breeze Conference Room. The event was held under the theme, "We Are One, Say No to Guns." It was led by a small delegation of community leaders in an effort to address and find solutions to mitigate and curb the recent spate of gun violence in that community. Part of the delegation included Pastor Kendall Augustine of the Christ is the Answer Church, Janie Joseph, Director of Gender Relations at the Ministry of Education, Corporal Marbert Octave of the Soufrière Criminal Investigation Division, Shaka Esnad, President of Team Unite Youth Group, and Johnson Simon, a Youth Development Officer at the Soufrière Foundation. The parliamentary representative and other speakers addressed the gathering and provided words of encouragement, upliftment, motivation, and suggested ways to better channel the energies of youth. Members of the different groups pledged to the gathering that they would put an end to the dispute and work together. Meanwhile, candidate for Soufrière Fort-Saint-Jacques on the St. Lucia Labour Party ticket, Emma Hippolyte, says she is determined to get to the root of what is causing the recent spike in the number of violent incidents in Soufrière. She is adamant that the youth need to see light at the end of the tunnel, particularly now, given all the adverse situations that they are faced with.
There has been a sudden upsurge in the number of violent incidents in the community of Soufrière. According to many residents, many of these incidents are gang-related. SLP hopeful for the Soufrière Fort-Saint-Jacques constituency, Emma Hippolyte, says she has taken a different approach to dealing with the young yet seemingly displaced males in the community.
Our first approach is a little different. We are going to engage the parents first, because we know most of the parents. So to put us to sit down and to see how best it is. I started talking to some of the parents on Saturday while I was walking, and some of them have agreed to come in together to meet. So we have to look at the persons who have influence on these boys, try to bring sense to the community. Numerous discussions with the boys, and at least it was only last week Friday, and not from them directly, that I got a full story as to what actually caused the warring faction in the first place.
Hippolyte says the situation in her hometown is worrying, as most of the young men whom she has identified are young fathers. She says many have expressed frustrations with various aspects of life, and it will take a village to eliminate all the social ills.
We need to make them realize that there can be a better tomorrow for them, but a lot of them are asking for work. Miss, we're not working. Miss, we're not working. Miss, we're not working. So we need to, together with them, arrive at some solutions.
She indicated that Soufrière is known for its uniqueness and talent, whether it be in sports or culinary arts, and thus she is hoping to tap into these avenues in order to bring peace to the community. Hippolyte says she is determined to ensure there is a sense of communal peace in Soufrière once more. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzague.
You're watching the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Still to come, drivers seek clarity on their livelihoods following the announcement that COVID-19 protocols are being eased. The SLP is ready to make announcements on its full slate of candidates, and St. Lucia takes a leap forward in the fight against COVID-19 following the donation of ventilators. That and more after the break.